Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sapna Dadwal. I'm working as a professor in the Department of Management. This is my lecture 11 of Business Law. The subject is taught in BBA 4th semester. The topics I am going to cover in this lecture are rights of bailee, duties of bailee, bailie's lien, termination of bailment, definition of contract of pledge, essentials of pledge, who may pledge. So these are the topic I am going to cover in this lecture number 11 of business law. Now starting with rights of bailee. First I would like to tell you about the contract of bailment. I have discussed in the earlier lecture number 10 about the contract of bailment. A contract of bailment is the delivery of goods by one person to another for some purpose upon a contract that they shall, when the purpose is accomplished, be returned or otherwise disposed of according to the direction of person delivering them. So the person who is delivering the goods is called as bailer, whereas the person to whom the goods are being delivered is called as bailee. Now I am starting with rights of bailee. The rights of bailee are as follows. First is enforcement of bailer's duty. The duties of bailer are the rights of bailee. As such, the bailee can file a suit or enforce the duties of the bailer. The bailee has the following rights against the bailer, that is, right to claim damages for loss arising from the undisclosed fault of the goods bailed, right to claim reimbursement for extraordinary expenses incurred in relation to the thing bailed or goods bailed, right to indemnify for any loss suffered by him by reason of defective title of the goods, right to claim compensation for expenses incurred for the safe custody of the goods if the bailer has wrongfully refused to take delivery of them after the term of bailment is over. So these are the duties of the bailer which bailee can enforce bailer, and if bailer refuse to follow these duties or in conform with these duties, so he can sue for the compensation from the bailer. Then second right of bailee is right to deliver goods to one of several joint bailers. Where goods have been bailed by several joint owners, the bailee has the right to deliver them to one of the joint owner without the consent of other owners. Then third right is right to deliver goods in good faith to bailer without the title. So the bailee has right to deliver the goods in good faith to the bailer without title, without incurring any liability towards the true owner. Then next is last right is right of lien. The bailee has right to retain the possession of the goods until his claim is not paid to him fully. The right depends on the possession and is lost as soon as possession of the goods is lost. Then the next topic is duties of bailee. The first one is to take care of the goods. It is the duty of every bailee to take reasonable care of the goods bailed to him by the bailer as much as care he would take of his own goods. If, in spite of bailee's care, goods are lost or damaged, bailee shall not be liable, but the parties may increase the level of care expected from bailee through a special term in the contract. Then second duty is not to make unauthorized use. It is the duty of the bailee that he should handle and use the goods bailed to him under the contract of bailment as per the terms and conditions of the contract. He shouldn't make unauthorized use of the goods bailed to him. Then third one is not to mix goods with his own. A bailee must keep bailor's goods separate from his own or from those of others and shouldn't mix them without bailor's consent. If bailee mixes bailor's goods with his own goods without the bailor's consent, then as per section 155, the bailor and bailee shall have an interest in proportion to their respective shares in the mixtures thus produced. The next one is to return the goods. The bailee has a basic duty to return or deliver according to the bailor's direction the goods bailed to him without demand at a proper time. That is, as soon as the time for which they were bailed has expired or the purpose for which they were bailed has been accomplished. So it is the duty of the bailee. As the purpose is accomplished, he should return the goods to the bailor. Then, to return any increase in the goods. If there is any increase or growth in the goods bailed to him by the bailor, then it is the duty of the bailee to return such increase or growth or profit on the goods to bailor. So bailee has a duty to restore or deliver any such increase to the bailor or according to his direction. The next topic is bailee's lien. Lien is a right of a person to retain the possession of goods of another person as long as some claim upon that person is not satisfied by him. According to Hillsbury, lien is thus a right in one man to retain which is in his possession belonging to another until certain demands of the person in possession are satisfied. So, lien is a lawful mode of putting pressure upon a person so that he takes steps to satisfy claim of possessor of his goods. Now, there are two types of bailee's lien. The first one is particular lien, then second one is general lien. I'm starting with particular lien. It means the right granted by law to a person to detain only a particular property or goods of the owner against a particular claim upon the owner. So, to be more specific, a particular lien means the right to detain goods of another person until a claim upon owner in relation to the detained goods is satisfied. Then comes general lien. For example, a general lien is the right to retain the goods of another as a security for a general balance of account. In simple words, this right entitles a person to retain possession of any goods belonging to another for any amount due to him, whether in respect of those goods or any other goods. For example, if two loans have been taken against two securities from a banker and the borrower repays one of the loan, the bankers may detain both the securities until his other loan is paid. So this is called a general lien. So now the difference between particular lien and general lien. Particular lien is available against those goods in respect of which some charges are due, whereas general, it is available against all goods whether in respect of which claims are due or not. Then the purpose of particular lien is only for non-payment of remuneration for the services, whereas the purpose of general lien is for the general balance of account. Now there is a difference between bailment versus sale and hire purchase. The difference is there. the contract of bailment, sale, and hire purchase all are different. We know we have discussed contract of bailment, whereas in case of sale, the ownership is transferred from seller to the buyer. But in bailment, ownership doesn't transfer, only the possession is transferred from bailor to bailee. Whereas in sale, ownership transferred from owner to the buyer. Whereas in hire purchase agreement is bailment with an option for sale. The hire purchaser in a position of a bailee till he purchases the goods. So this is the difference between sale, bailment, and hire purchase. Now the next topic is termination of bailment. The first one is termination of every contract. It means a bailment is terminated on the expiry of fixed period if the goods are bailed for a fixed period. So when that fixed period expires, then the contract of bailment expires also. Then next one is on fulfillment of the purpose. If the goods are being delivered for a specific purpose, if that specific purpose is complete, then the contract of bailment get terminated automatically. The third one is inconsistent use of goods. A bailment may be terminated if the bailee doesn't use goods according to the conditions of the bailment. If he is using goods without the consent of the bailor, then the contract of bailment comes under gets terminated automatically, or the bailor can terminate the goods. Then next one is destruction of subject matter of bailment. A bailment of contract of bailment is terminated if the subject matter of the bailment is destroyed or become incapable of being used for bailment because of some changes in the nature of goods. Then the contract of bailment gets terminated. Now the second point of termination is termination of gratuitous bailment. There are 2 points. Termination of gratuitous bailment before the expiry of fixed period. A gratuitous bailment may be terminated by the bailor at any time, even though the bailment was for a fixed period. But if he is terminating contract of bailment of gratuitous goods before the expiry of the term, then he has to indemnify the bailee for the loss he has suffered. Then second one is on the death of bailor or bailee. A gratuitous bailment is terminated by the death of either the bailor or bailee. Now the next topic is contract of pledge. It is also called as contract of pawn. The bailment of goods as security for payment of debt or performance of promise is called as pledge. For example, X borrows rupees 1 lakh from Citibank and keeps his shares as security for payment of debt. It is a contract of pledge. And the person who delivers the goods as a security for a payment of debt or for a performance of promise is called as pledger or pawner, and the person to whom goods are delivered as security for payment of debt or performance of promise is called as pawnee or pledgee. In this example, X is a pledger or pawner, whereas Citibank is a pawnee or pledgee. Now, essentials of the contract of pledge. Goods must be delivered as security for payment of debt or for performance of a promise. Second one is there must be actually or constructive delivery of goods pledged. Then the pledge can be made of movable goods only. Pledge can be made on movable goods only. Movable goods includes documents, shares or valuable things, government promissory notes, etc. Then transfer of possession is essential in the contract of pledge. Here transfer of possession is given to the from pledger to pledgee. Now the next topic is who may pledge. The following persons make a valid pledge. First one is owner of the goods. Owners of the goods. The general rule is that it is the owner of the goods who can orderly create pledge. An unauthorized agent of the owner also comes in the category. It may be noted if there are several co-owners and if goods are in possession of one of them, in that case the co-owner who is in possession of the goods can also pledge. Now the second category is pledge by non-owners. So pledge can be done also by non-owners, and that pledge can be called as a valid pledge. First one is mercantile agent. A mercantile agent who is in possession of the goods or the documents of title can create a valid pledge with the consent of the real owner. Then a person who is in the possession of goods. A person who is in possession of goods under a voidable contract can create a valid pledge before such contract is terminated. Then third one is seller who is in possession of goods. A seller who is in possession of goods even after the sale can make a valid pledge of them. Then buyer who obtained possession of goods. A buyer who has obtained a possession of goods before sale can create a valid pledge. Then a person who has limited interest in the goods. A person who has a limited interest in the goods can create a valid pledge if such goods, but only to the extent of his own interest. He can only make pledge up to his extent of his interest only. So these are the persons who can pledge. Now these are the questions which are related to the above topics. If any query is there, please do contact me. If any writing mistake is there, please ignore the writing mistake. Thank you so much.